What's going on, everyone?
Yo.
Today is episode 63.
63.
That's right. I'm Eddie.
I'm Adam. This is Marcus.
And we're joined by a very special guest, Mr. DeAngelo Haslam. How's it going, sir?
It's going all right, man. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. So for those of you who don't know, DeAngelo is a good friend of this show, former Ohio State defensive back, and he's Adam and I's coworker. So we always chop it up, talk football. DeAngelo always reminds me how much I don't know, so I decided to have him on the show.
Thanks a lot for having me, man.
Yeah, all right. So let's get into it real quick. NFL news. I just wanted to get, since we got DeAngelo on the phone, see if you've been tracking any of this. Marcus, why don't you get into this Deshaun Watson stuff, and then we'll get DeAngelo's opinion.
Yeah, so the numbers are growing by the day, right?
Yeah.
Like it started out with like 2 women, then 4, then 12, and now I think they're like around like 24 women.
Yeah.
Like we originally thought like, it could be a little wishy-washy situation with, disagreements and people trying to come in and, tarnish the name of Deshaun Watson, money grab, maybe, I don't know, wait till the facts come out. But the more women there are, it's looking really bad. Like it's one of those things where it's just like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Right.
So what are your thoughts?
DeAngelo, let's get your thoughts on that.
Okay, so this is already a bad situation because, first and foremost, it'll be a black quarterback, and then on the flip side of that, this whole, I don't want to call it a scandal, but at the same time, when you got 16 women, 14 women, whether he makes it out or not, it's going to be lawsuits. There's going to be a bunch of stuff that comes out of this.
Mm-hmm.
And, I feel like because he was productive, the NFL will fight for him. But the other side of that is like there's the fan base is going to be crazy because you're allowing pretty much the whole Bill Cosby thing to happen to Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, that's
so it's a scary situation for him.
Mm-hmm.
It's for Houston as a whole, even though he was trying to get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be hard for him to get out of Houston, get out of that situation, and another team want to pick him up and take along the fan base the non-fan base he's going to have, during that time. So I really feel bad for the whole situation as a whole. It's a terrible situation, and I don't know if he's going to necessarily like make it out of it because the more women you have, the more it's going to gravitate towards, hey, we're going to really have to look into this. Suspensions, is he going to be able to play football again? Mm-hmm. That's what it usually boils down to, right? Yeah. And then jail time. Because the last person I can really think of like this is Darren Sharper.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's the last person I really seen like kind of go through this. And he's doing jail time or had to do jail time. I'm not even sure if he's still in or out. But his situation was kind of like similar to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. I actually forgot all about that until you just said it.
Yeah,
for sure,
man. Yeah, so like my quick take on it is, at first, when it first surfaced or whatever, there was no police reports. It was just like allegations, and it was like just the civil suits and things like that. So your initial thought, and we spoke on this on one of the last episodes. Like obviously, we take sexual assault very serious.
Very seriously.
We're not quick to say. We're not quick to say the woman is lying, anything like that. But
not at all.
Timing of everything, the way details came out, then the attorney went to Twitter versus like through normal, I guess, media channels. So things just seemed a little weird. But now, like, there's the amount of women. It's like Adam and I were talking yesterday. It's like there's too much smoke to not be fire.
Right.
You know, because at first, I posed a question on this show, DeAngelo, was does this hurt his, value as far as trading and things like that? Now,
oh, definitely.
Yeah, now, but it's even deeper to your point. Is he ever even going to play again?
Right.
Facts, so I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he signed what, $160 million deal a year ago?
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean, who's going to pay that money? I mean, if somebody does pick him up, they're definitely restructuring his contract.
Yes,
before
sir.
he even gets to who's going to actually pay that type of money for a guy that's problems, especially at the quarterback position?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, like I said, I mean, hopefully it comes out in his favor, but in the way if he did not do these things,
right?
You know, but if he did, I mean,
well, he got to go.
I mean, with the number of women,
he got to go.
It's hard, right? Yeah, he got to go because I mean, like I said, your that fan base is going to leave him, and it's going to become. I mean, it's going to be a follow on to this. Like, this is the wrong time. I mean, with female VP. So like the vice president, all that, like, there's just too much going on in the world right now. You know what I'm saying? With the women's movement, for him to actually still be here.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
If it is true.
Mm-hmm. So before we move on from this topic, Adam, what's your take on it? If you have an opinion at all.
I do not. I would like to not comment on this too much, that's honestly. Just gonna echo the same thing that we said in a former podcast, which is that I just hope that whoever is in the right comes out on top.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
You know, overall, it's just
100%.
It is just a sad situation. You hate to see it from all standpoints, right? Like you know, from the standpoint as a football fan, we could potentially lose like one of the best talents we've seen in a long time,
right?
And as you mentioned, like a black quarterback who's really succeeding and not just like a running quarterback or whatever, right? He's like breaking a lot of those sort of stereotypes. But then obviously there's like the ethical and moral concerns here, right? Like it's just it just sucks.
And my last point is like 42% of the fan base are women. So they're all paying attention and thinking, well, what is the NFL going to do to protect our interests in, the entertainment of the NFL? You know what I mean? So that's something to definitely watch out for because like we talked about before, like the more women that show up, it's looking horrible by the day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
right.
And I think the NFL has started their own investigation now as well, right?
For sure.
Like they've got their investigator is out there trying to, I think she's actually trying to get access to all the people who have submitted those claims, right? Yeah, all the accusers. So it's we're gonna have to see this play out on a couple fronts.
Yes, sir. For sure.
All right, so moving on, free agency stuff. There really wasn't any. Now, you guys jump in if I miss anything. The only thing that I had of note is the Giants, just because it's within the division. I know, DeAngelo, this is not your part of the show, but the Giants signed Kenny Golladay.
Yes, they did.
That was kind of upsetting.
Yeah.
I hope he continues his injury trend.
Yeah. That hip's just not feeling great right now.
Yeah.
And then they also signed cornerback, was it Adoree Jackson?
Adoree Jackson, yes, they did.
Yeah. So, I don't know. DeAngelo, what's your take on that? Do you think that helps the Giants? I mean, definitely with Kenny Golladay, right?
Of course. I mean, like to give Daniel Jones another weapon. I mean, especially when he's coming into his own this year. Like he didn't have a terrible season this year what you expected of him. I mean, and then replacing the Eli Manning. So I mean, he's doing a lot better than anybody probably could have expected early on. So yeah, giving Kenny Golladay to that. I mean, yeah, he definitely needs the extra weapons. I mean, you got to think over the years you lost guys like Odell Beckham, and from that organization, you need somebody to also put fans in the stands.
Oh yeah.
So I think Kenny Golladay actually helps on that forefront too.
Yeah, and then with a healthy Saquon, and then their defense, I think people sleep on their defense overall, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good defense.
DeAngelo, where would you say they stack up? Again, now it's just on paper in the NFC East right now.
I hate to say this.
Hey, let's keep those laughs to a minimum.
All right, so look, if I'm looking at that defense, I think Washington, because of their front, has the best defense inside that whole NFC.
That's the right answer.
Deal.
Yeah, that's correct.
But
I'm not too sure about that.
Based on how the season played out last year, and really it was a toss up at the end for that wild card place. I think Washington. I mean, the Giants actually have a shot. So I mean, I think the Giants actually have a shot, but I think Washington has the best defense. I think actually the Giants might be number 2 because I can't count on the Cowboys to do anything. And then the Phillies lost a lot. And then they're going through a whole transition even on the offensive side of the ball. I actually see them on the field a lot more this year, even with Jalen Hurts behind the helm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would say that's fair. So before the Giants signed, Galladay, and then some of the other, I mean, all their free agents, it seems like they were trying to make big move after big move.
Yeah.
Before they inked Galladay, I kind of had Dallas and Washington relatively even. I would give the slight edge to Washington because they won the division. Their defense is good. And then Dallas only because they re-signed Dak, right?
Yeah.
All things point to he'll be back healthy and things should be fine there. So they'll have one of the better offenses, but it's just their defense that is going to keep other teams in games.
Right.
Hot garbage.
But now we would be crazy to say that the Giants have no shot. I think it's a 3-horse race. Obviously, Marcus, my man, with the Eagles.
I'm quiet over here. Wait my turn.
I mean,
for real.
but it's just a big rebuild, right?
Oh,
you know
for
what I
sure,
mean?
yeah.
New coach, almost all new coaches, whole bunch of new players.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So you guys all still have to learn the new system, things of that nature.
Yes, sir.
Plus, your new players coming in and things like that. So I think you guys, are 4th in the division. But I mean, we've seen stranger things.
I'll take that for right now.
No, but I mean, think about it, right? Like Adam and I
yeah.
finally, for once, get to smile because we've always been the bottom dwellers, no matter what. Like coming out the gate, whether it was free agency or the draft, it's like, okay, it's Washington, and then from the start of the season, everything just kind of falls apart.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It'll be interesting to see. Dallas historically seems to let everybody down as soon as the you know what I mean, like
It's December, dude.
Like they'll string together like a good portion of a season, and everybody on all the major networks are just having a slurp fest for Dallas, and then they end up
falling apart,
crap in the bed.
Yep.
Right. So
Classic.
yeah. Anything from you guys?
So for me, I think another big inking was that Leonard Williams contract, $63 million guaranteed.
Oh yeah.
That's a big move on their part because what I remember playing them last year is that we had a lot tougher time like running the ball with that man on the field. That dude's just a straight up problem. Overall, I still give you guys the edge on defense just based on what you guys have been able to do last year. But I also think adding a Dory Jackson, it definitely helps out. But
for
I
sure.
definitely it's a 1-1A thing just on paper, but I'm interested to see what they do on the field.
Yeah.
I am personally scared of them right now. Well, I think it was a big offseason for them, right? Like they made a lot of big moves. It's kind of like remember when they had Eli, and it was like after 2 or 3 years with Eli, they went and signed that big receiver, the dude who like shot himself or something.
Oh, it was
like
Plexico Burris.
Yeah, right. Like that's what the Galladay signing feels like to me, right? Like they're taking big swings.
Yeah,
they
right?
are.
I mean, it's gonna come down to Daniel Jones, right? Like, is he who they think he is?
Right.
Because right now they're putting him in the best possible position to succeed, and if he's not successful, that's just on them. I personally am scared of them though, because I think while I do think that the Washington defense is better, I think that the Giants are a solid number 2 at least in our division, and then while I do think that the Cowboys probably have the most potent offense in our division, I think the Giants are at number 2 in the offensive category as well. Like they've got some weapons.
For sure.
I remember Slayton might not be like a number 1 receiver, but he doesn't have to be anymore, right? And I think he'll feel like he will fill that slot. And obviously they still have Shepard, Evan Engram. Like those guys won't have to be the number 1 guy anymore. So I'm actually kind of nervous about the Giants.
Not only that, didn't like Daniel Jones clock like a 4.25, like booking it?
Yeah, like right before he tripped.
Scrambles, right before he tripped, turf monsters. Yeah. So for the rest of the league, I need you guys to just start, embedding turf monsters into the field, because obviously that's the only thing that's going to stop that man from running. But seriously, like he's still a run threat, even though people don't think about that when they think of Daniel Jones. So
yeah, for sure.
True. The thing is, I would say is that I still think the Giants' main person is Saquon Barkley.
For
and
sure.
I say that because it needs to go. I think Daniel Jones, like they need to have the run game established for Daniel Jones to get off.
Oh, for sure.
I still think that even though he was hurt this year, you've seen what Daniel Jones can do with Saquon hurt. But I feel like if they did establish their run game early on in most of the games, I think Daniel Jones would be a lot better.
Yeah.
And I think that will open up to actually having more wins this season than last, right?
Yeah, for sure. Because, I mean, if you can if you can establish that run early, you're going to almost negate the pass rush, right? And that's what Washington majors in. So other teams like that with just a stout front, you're going to slow them down. You know what I mean? You're not going to be facing those crazy blitzes down in and down out. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to the division. Like at least now on paper, it seems like the NFC East is stronger than it has been in years past.
Yeah,
so
we're not like the worst division in the NFL anymore.
Yeah.
I don't
until
think
the
so.
season starts.
I don't think so either.
I'm not sold. I'm still thinking the person that gets to 8-8, the person that gets to 8-8 makes the playoffs. So I think that's what's going to happen again this year. I think that's what I'm looking forward to this year.
Yeah. I think you're right. To be honest. All right, well, let's get into the meat and potatoes of the show and the reason we brought DeAngelo on. So as we said the last couple shows, once we got through the free agency stuff, we were going to start eyeing the draft. So we thought it would be fun for each of us to pick a team in the league and just kind of identify what we believe their draft need would be, and if there was any particular player that stuck out to any of us that we think that team could realistically draft, then we'll go ahead and get into it. So, Marcus, you are going to be doing the Green Bay Packers, correct?
Yes, sir.
Green Bay Packers.
So, the Green Bay Packers, right? So, the way that I looked at this team is based on their last game, right? And that was against the Bucs. One thing they could not do, well, actually, there was a couple things they couldn't do. One of the bigger things they couldn't do was stop the run. Leonard Fournette got off, dude. Not only that, like I keep saying, he found hands in Walmart and butchered them throughout the game. On top of that, let's talk about their corner situation, right? So Shandon Sullivan, if I'm not mistaken, is a free agent. They need to draft a guy there. I also think that they also need tight end help because Tunyon, this dude's a free agent. So they have a lot of pieces missing. Not only that, they lost their, if I'm not mistaken, they also lost their center. So they have to. Yeah, so I think they also I think they have pieces that they need to rebuild on the offensive line. They got to find a corner. They have to find a tight end. And then on top of that, when are they going to draft a receiver in the top 2 rounds for Aaron Rodgers? They just don't do that, care. Dude.
No, they don't.
So in the end, like I think they got a lot of holes to fill. And in my opinion, I think they're only going to hold on to Rodgers for another year or two before they actually have to move on. But in the end, you can't, going back to the defense, you can't have guys ripping you for 110 yards in the playoffs. That was Godwin. That was one guy. So in the end, I think that they need to focus on the defense first. I think they need to focus on, rebuilding that front 4, getting a defensive tackle to assist with, stopping the run, because the goal is to like make teams one-dimensional, right? And they just haven't been able to do that over the past couple of years.
Right.
So focusing there, and then hopefully bringing in a tight end, or in my opinion, more of a receiver, to assist with Aaron Rodgers, on the offense. I mean, they did retain Aaron Jones. They let Jamal Williams walk. He ended up on another squad, but overall, I think starting on defense and then best available receiver is what my thoughts were. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I was thinking receiver. I thought their defense was okay at times last year, but I mean, you're right. Like the stop and the run. Yeah. So I mean, they can definitely improve on the defense, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like Rodgers can take a no-name receiver and make him serviceable, almost like Tom Brady did in New England. Go ahead, DeAngelo.
Oh, go ahead.
I honestly think like based on where they're falling, what pick are they actually? What pick is Green Bay right now? Because who I'm thinking they're actually going to pick up because he's going to be there later on is probably Rondale Moore if he's available. Because I think he's going to be there later in the round. So like, I mean, he'll go between 20 and 30. I believe so. I think like he's like one of those guys that can fit a little bit of everything, come out the backfield.
Right.
I mean, be a good slot receiver. Like he can kind of do a little bit of everything. The only thing about him is that he's small, but he fits well with Devontae Adams.
Right.
So that's going to stretch the field. Yeah. So I really think like as a receiver wise, they'll end up getting that if they don't go defense. Because I am on your saying wavelength when it comes down to the defense, like what happened against Tampa Bay, and the fact that they're going to see probably Tampa Bay again if they do get to the playoffs again. I think that they'll need a good secondary.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Somebody else in the secondary. I mean, a lockdown corner or a ball hawking type free safety, because now Tampa Bay's throwing the ball down the field. So I think they'll need something like somebody that's going to create some turnovers in a deep end.
Adam, thoughts?
That all makes a lot of sense. I don't know. I love Aaron Rodgers, and you, like you said, right? He can take a pedestrian guy and turn him serviceable, but like I just want to see him with someone good again, right?
For
like,
sure.
He's got Devontae, and Devontae's become great with him, right? But you remember like those old days when they had like it was like Jordy, they had
it was dirty.
Randall Cobb, like all those guys, right? Even his tight ends were nasty.
Greg Jennings.
Yep.
I want to see that Rodgers back again. Like he lit the league on fire without a whole lot behind him last season, and I would love to see them just like invest in your best asset, please. Like it'll make Devontae better too, because not everyone's just gonna have to worry about him solely anymore. Aaron Jones is solid, right? Like they do have some pieces on that offense.
For sure. And like a random guy, Alan Lazard popped last season. Yeah. Especially towards the back end. We're like, who is this guy? But he was getting separation and getting open. And then one more piece, they re-signed Mercedes Lewis. That man has been in the league forever. He's 36. This man is 36. He's a 36-year-old tight end. Like, what are you guys doing?
I think Adam was in 4th grade.
He's good for like one highlight play every season, though, right? I'll just see him break out like a 50-yard touchdown. I'm like, that dude is still in the league. I forgot about it.
Crazy. I mean, I guess him and LeBron are like texting each other, like sharing secrets on how to stay in the league. But he's 36. Crazy.
That's funny. All right. Well, let's get into DeAngelo's team.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
What you got for us?
Okay, so it's a lot happening with Pittsburgh, and it's so much going on. It's like it's pandemonium going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like they lost Villanueva. I mean, it's a free agency because they owed him $16.5 million this upcoming season. They're already negative $21 million plus in the cap. So it's like everything that they're going to get has to pretty much come out the draft this year, and them signing the real free agents or high quality free agents this year is not even a thing. I mean, they lost Bud Dupree. I mean, eight sacks. He's probably the biggest name that they did lose this year.
Yeah,
and 8 sacks last year. You got TJ Watt on the other side that you're probably going to have to give him a deal next year for his 15 sacks that he produced this year. So it's a lot going on with them. But because Marquise Pouncey left and retired this year, they got an immediate need for interior lineman, center, offensive guard that they can convert. Because Villanueva's gone, they're missing the offensive tackle, and if Big Ben's coming back, you're going to want to protect him. So those are the immediate needs. But what I'm actually suspecting they'll do, because they were last in rush offense in the league, damn sure in the division, and I think they're going to pick up a running back. And my main two people that I'm actually saying that if I want to hinge my bets on that's going to be productive when I come in, you either get Najee Harris or Travis Etienne. Those are two that if you can't get either one of them, I don't know who you get, and I will put my cards in those two. Those are only two guys that I seen this year that stood out. There's a couple guys out of North Carolina, but I just the running back position is the easiest transitionable player at the next level. Like a good college running back usually equates to a good pro running back. So I think if you don't get one of those two, you're pretty much stuck. I do think if something does come up and there's a quarterback left on the board that's good in the second round, and who I'm probably seeing there could be Mac Jones, possibly. I mean, it's a stretch. I think that's where you go next, even though if you need those other positions of a center or offensive tackle. I could just see that because Big Ben, if he goes down again, he has to deal with injury over the past. I don't think Mason Rudolph's the answer, or Dobbs, neither one. So, like, if you want to keep the season alive, I think you go with one of these guys that are kind of a proven winner.
Oh, yeah.
Don't play with me, man.
Y'all got Haskins. Come on, man.
But no, like,
He went to your school.
I like Dwayne Haskins. I really do. I just I think this is just a test year to see if he can even be in the league.
No, for sure.
And
Oh,
I
for
hope,
sure. 100%.
Yeah, and I hope he does. I mean, I hope he pans out. I do believe he has a big arm. I do believe they have a decent receiving core. Juju did come back for $8 million.
They always have receivers.
Yeah.
Always.
Right. The only thing I say about Juju in that respect is that, hey, he's only worth $8 million. You know, like, I mean, so they truly view him as the number 2 receiver.
Yeah.
You got Claypool out there, and I can't remember the number. Yeah. So I think they're doing
Washington.
really well.
Washington.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they're doing well. I just like there's so many pieces missing. I think you need to get somebody for Bud Dupree on the edge side.
Facts.
I can't really. Yeah,
Sign Kerrigan.
But the thing is, you think Kerrigan?
Yeah, he's a free agent.
Yeah.
Sign him.
Yeah.
He still got football
come
left.
on. They can't sign anybody.
Oh yeah, you already got no money.
No money.
You ain't got no money. So like
It's like
that's
the
the
Eagles.
piece. Like you got to find in the draft. And I will say this because they got rid of Mike Hilton this year.
Right.
Their nickel corner. I think Asante Samuel Jr. from Florida State will make a great replacement for him.
Okay.
Like a great replacement for him because he can play in the slot and he can play outside. Like he's just the pick that I want in that secondary. With you got Joe Hayden out there, you got Cumberland, you got my guy Alabama. Who am I talking about?
Surtain?
Not Surtain. Safety out of Alabama.
Oh.
That's
They
there
currently-
right now.
Minka.
Currently.
Minka.
Yeah, Minka. You got Minka Fitzpatrick back there.
Oh, yeah.
And it shows some things like they do need an interior linebacker because Minka was a leading tackler. When you got and your 2 safeties were your top 2 tacklers or top 3 tacklers last year, so that always shows
That's a
something. You need some
problem.
interior linebackers.
It's not ideal.
Yeah, it's definitely a problem. So I like 100% agree with you, both you guys, and they need to find somebody else. The Devin Bush was hurt last year, so hopefully they find somebody this year to do that. I'm thinking if you're going to take a gamble, I would pick Mosley out of Alabama, and I think he'll be there probably a second-day guy, maybe 3rd round. So
Okay.
it's a lot going on, but at the same time, I think like the Steelers are good this year.
Yeah.
For like if they get the right guys out of the draft, but I think the 1st round pick you got to either get Travis Etienne or Najee Harris.
Do you have a preference of those 2?
I do. I think I like Etienne a little bit better.
Okay.
He's more of a slasher to me.
Yeah.
I think what they suffered when they let Le'Veon Bell go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think they suffered some more, even though they had to let Antonio Brown go. You know, so because you don't have a 1,000-yard receiver, you don't have a 1,000-yard rusher. James Conner, he had a semi-good rookie campaign, but after that, I mean, injury, and they're not necessarily doing well. And like I said, when have you ever known the Pittsburgh Steelers to be the worst in the division in rushing?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so when you're looking at Baltimore, you're looking at Cleveland, you're looking at Cincinnati, all of them did significantly better in that category.
Yeah.
And you got to think about how Pittsburgh ended the last 5 games of the year. I mean, they were 1 for 5, you know, and 1 for 4, so or something like that. So yeah, it was a terrible thing. I mean, it's because they couldn't run the ball. Defense was on the field the entire game. They couldn't control the clock because they couldn't run the ball, and you know, it kind of exposed Ben a little bit more also. So.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how things shake out in Pittsburgh. My first thought, like when I was thinking draft wise, is because I saw the whole offensive line shake up. I was like, oh boy, like they're going to be in trouble there. So I don't know. I'm telling you, this is why I love the draft, right? Because you try to identify the needs, whether it's your team or not, and then we all kind of have our mind where we think players would go, you know, oh, this guy is definitely 1st overall. Oh, he's definitely a 1st round pick. And then you see that individual slide to the 2nd day, 3rd day, you know what I mean? Something like that. So no, I mean, it'll definitely be interesting, but I cannot remember a time where I felt like the Steelers are kind of hanging on by a thread. You know what I mean? But to DeAngelo's point, I do think they'll be okay because they've been counted out before, right? Like a couple years ago.
Right.
And, you know, they still hang around, you know, so.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, I suspect a rocky start for them because with so many people that are coming over to actually get out there and play, and then being in the division that they're in, which I think is arguably the toughest division to be in. I mean, you have 3 teams that made the playoffs last year from that one division.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, so with that, it's going to be rough in the beginning, but I think they'll do the normal, get into the normal Steeler way towards the end, you know, and I think they'll make the playoffs again.
Yeah.
I just Cleveland's on the uprise, Baltimore's on the uprise. And
Cincinnati too, honestly.
Yeah, Cincinnati too with Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a great year for them. I mean, a great year for that whole conference as a whole, I think.
For sure. And for me, I think it all starts with getting Juju a bigger mouthpiece because he was talking so much trash last season and got put on his butt.
All the TikToks.
All the TikToks, all the yam. Yeah, they shut all that down. No, but seriously, for me, I look at the head coach. I look at Mike Tomlin, right? Even like Eddie said, even when you think you're going to count this team out, they always find a way to get W's. It's crazy.
He'll coach them up.
He'll coach them up, and he figures it out. So I think, like you said, they'll have a rocky start, but I never count the Steelers out ever.
Yeah.
I mean, in the AFC, I would say Mike Tomlin will probably be the 3rd best head coach.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Andy Reid, you got Bill Belichick, and then who else do you have? You know, so I mean, if you look at those dynamics, he's always had them going. And the thing is, him and Bill, they're kind of like those defensive-minded coaches versus Andy, you know, kind of runs that offense side.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, so so it's I really think they'll be okay and they'll figure it out on the defensive side of the ball. I think they need to just take care of the offense right now, you know, in the best way they can.
Yes, sir.
To actually make sure Big Ben stays upright.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. Now let's move it over to Adam's team.
New Orleans Saints.
Yeah. So I had the New Orleans Saints. Obviously, the big headline with them is Drew Brees finally retiring after forever, and a rough season to cap it all off with. But I think the thing that I didn't really realize was just how much of cap hell they were in. They were over the cap by $100 million.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I think they're the only team that was worse than us.
Yeah, it's brutal, right? So it's actually if you want to figure out who they need to draft, it is very easy. You just figure out how they got under the cap, right? Which they did, and they deserve credit for that. They managed to get under the cap, so they're good now. But let's look at some of the names that they gave away. All right, they gave away Janoris Jenkins, their cornerback, Jack Rabbit. Solid. He was probably the biggest contributor. Breeze retiring was them saving $1 million, which is literally 1% of the hole that they were in. I think Janoris Jenkins was $9 million, so that was a big one for them. Emmanuel Sanders was released. Jared Cook was released. Quan Alexander, their linebacker, was released. Both of their interior defensive linemen, their tackles were. One was released, that's Sheldon Rankins, and I think he signed with the Jets. And then Malcolm Brown was traded to the Jaguars. Or I might have the Jaguars and Jets flipped for both of them. But yeah, that's a lot of big names, right, that they've lost. So honestly, they need to draft all of that. But if we want to look at who they really, I think, should draft, at least offensively, they still have weapons, right? They still have Michael Thomas. Hopefully he won't be injured and running his mouth or doing whatever this year. Hopefully he'll just be back to playing. They still have Alvin Kamara, and Alvin Kamara is one of the most fun players to watch in the league, in my opinion. Yeah, he's just so how many players are out there where you're just this dude could take it to the house at any point, right? And he's got that weird style of running where he's just always balanced somehow, and I don't understand it physically.
It's almost kind of he has a Marshawn Lynch type of running style, but he's still fast. He's faster than Marshawn, but he still keeps that balance. It's crazy.
It's crazy. So yeah, they've got a lot of talent, I think, on the offensive side. Except maybe at quarterback, they got Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill.
Oh, crab legs.
Yeah, they trolled the whole league with the contract that they gave Taysom Hill, right? Like Sean Payton's been touting this guy as like, oh yeah, we're good at quarterback forever, and now they got Jameis Winston. Like, what's going on over there? So, but I do think that they're okay enough at offense, at least for now, because they do have a couple superstars there. So I think that they're going to end up drafting on the defensive side. One of the interesting things about the Saints is that they play out of the nickel more than just about any other team out there.
Right.
And for anyone who doesn't know what the nickel is, like I didn't know until kind of recently, the nickel is when you have 5 defensive backs.
Yep.
So you sacrifice one of your linebackers and you play 5 defensive backs instead. And losing Janoris Jenkins, who is a nasty cornerback, makes me think that they're going to need to replace that. So I think that they'll end up drafting a cornerback in that first round.
Facts.
What pick did they have?
28.
I was thinking J.C. Horn, but I don't know if he'll still be there at 28.
I think like the top 3 consensus picks are, it's J.C. Horn, Surtain out of Bama, and then Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech.
Yep.
Those are the 3 consensus, like, top 3 at defensive backs, and it seems like they're all going to be gone. So the only guy who's really left is Gregory Newsome II.
Oh.
Out of Northwestern.
Okay.
Yeah. Apparently this guy's pretty solid. I
like it. Apparently. We got to ISO that too. Apparently.
I've watched him a little bit. I'm not gonna pretend I'm a guy who can break down defensive back tape. I mean, that's why we have someone like DeAngelo here. But from what I did see of him, he is really good at just like shadowing routes, and he's like he's 6 feet tall. He's a lengthy guy. He's not like super athletic, but he was really smooth, right? I think you even if you're not like a really technical person, you can see that when you watch someone play, especially with a defensive back, like how smooth they are in their back pedal and how quickly they can kind of get their hips around, and those are attributes that this guy has. In terms of numbers, he had a crazy amount of pass breakups. I think he had like 24 in his college career.
Let's go. That's nasty.
But and this is kind of a good thing or a bad thing, but like he had some durability issues, right? So I don't think he played a full season in his 3 seasons in which he was a starter, but he still managed to have 24 pass breakups, which is
it's getting busy.
Yeah. So like you don't want to throw his way. You would hope that he would have more interceptions. I think he only had 1. So I think he's gonna have to turn those pass breakups into picks. But yeah, he's not like a heavy dude. Like he's unafraid to tackle, but he does not have the weight to tackle very well, I think. So he's gonna need to get his weight up. But I think that's the guy.
Your weight up, son.
I think that's the guy that they're gonna end up going after. What do you guys think?
Nice, DeAngelo, you want to go first?
I can honestly say, like, I mean, think about who in the division with when I look at them. So you got Tampa Bay, you got Carolina, you got Atlanta. So I see secondary, but I don't know if they'll go for a safety or a corner. Just off of everything. If they do go for a corner, I think Asante Samuel will probably still be there, junior. And that's the guy that could play in a slide and outside. I don't know if he'll be gone if they actually pick him up in the first round. I think he'll be a late. Like I said, 20, somewhere between 20 and 30, you know. Well, so I think that leaves New Orleans to like try to get someone like that. And I think like I didn't get to watch a lot of this guy from Northwestern, but like I said, with Asante Samuel, he kind of sounds like the same type of guy, except what's his dimensions? Is he a big guy, a long guy? Is he not?
He's a long guy.
Yeah, so outside corner, I can see that, especially when you got guys like Julio Jones out there. We're saying you got Mike Evans, you got Godwin, like and if Antonio Brown comes back, you got somebody like that. So like, I do see that could possibly be a thing. Like I didn't get to watch a lot of him, but I think if your analysis is good, I think that he might be the guy.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. For New Orleans, I was thinking more defense as well. Yeah, because I mean, I think offense, obviously, Jameis is going to be your quarterback. You got Alvin Kamara. They're going to keep using Taysom the way that they have, a little Swiss Army knife on offense. So I think they'll be okay in that regard. Plus, that offense is going to go as Jameis goes anyway. So if he sees the wrong color and throws the ball to the other team like he has historically done, it's not going to matter what they have going on over there. But yeah, no, I see defense. I was thinking secondary as well because of the people that they lost. And if you think about the other teams in that division, they do like to air it out. So, yeah, that's all I got.
Put some respect on old Crab Leg's name, man. I got this man starting next season. But honestly, I agree. I think for right now, it's Taysom Hill. I mean, until, our friend can prove that he's not going to turn the ball over.
Oh, I think Jameis is going to start.
Yeah. Okay,
I do too. I actually do too.
For sure. In my opinion, I want him to start. Like, even in the playoffs with last season, where the dude just came in for one play and dropped that dime. You can't. There's certain guys with a crazy level of arm talent that are just going to be gunslingers, and that's exactly what Jameis Winston is. Yeah. I want him to start. And going with everybody else was saying, I think that they should also go defense. Maybe a guy like Tay Gowan will be there from UCF. Guy is a 6'2", 185-pound cornerback. He plays pretty good. He only allowed 20 catches from 50 targets for 274 yards. Kid's pretty good. So there's corners out there. It's just a matter of which one falls that far down.
So. Yeah, for sure.
I could see if a quarterback ends up slipping, I could see them going that direction. Like if someone that they're really in love with, because I don't think they should be in love with either of their current options.
Right.
That or let's assume that Jameis is the guy who starts, potentially a tight end for him to throw the ball to, because I think historically we've seen that he loves throwing it to that position
for sure.
And Michael Thomas, he's a big body, and I think he catches shorter balls, right? So he could kind of he could operate in that way, but I think Jameis likes having a big body that he can throw to, because he's gonna air it out, right? He's gonna throw it. So if I'm the Saints, maybe to protect my own downside, I get a big guy who can maybe just catch those contested balls, because they're gonna be coming.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and to round out this draft stuff for this week, we have me with
Seattle Seahawks.
Let's go, Seattle.
All right. So I chose the Seattle Seahawks. Why? Because why not? Mostly because we've been hearing Russell Wilson wants to get out of there because he has no protection. He's, always running for his life, this and that, which he has been literally since he was a rookie. And they had, they brought in some guys. So that kind of altered where I was going to go in the draft. So they did bring in some linemen. I'm still going to go linemen. At first I was going to think maybe they could use another receiver or something like that. But so interesting fact, right? Seattle only has 3 picks in this draft. Because remember they traded for Jamal Adams,
Jamal Adams.
And there were some other moves that required some draft picks. So they only have 3. They don't have a first round pick. So they're picking in the second round as their first pick, 56th overall. Wow. Then they're picking again in the 4th round, 129th overall, and then in the 7th round, 250th overall. Wow. So looking at what I feel their biggest need was, I do think some of their offensive line moves that they brought in are more depth. So who stuck out to me was tackle Jackson Carman from Clemson. And the thing with him, so he's a big dude. I forgot his measurables. That's just my fault. I didn't write it down. But
he's a big fella.
Yeah, but I think ultimately he's going to get kicked to the right tackle or the guard position. He's a big body, strong, fast off the line. He's got a violent punch. Cons, basically, he needs to improve blocking while on the move, which is going to be huge in Seattle, right? Because Russell Wilson's going to be moving. So again, he needs to improve there. But he should be a starter overall. I mean, that's where they're projecting him, is he should be an NFL starter. So, and he's projected to go in the 2nd round. So if he's there, I think 56, I think it makes sense for Seattle. I mean, why not do any and everything you can to, protect your best player on your team, who has put it out there that, hey, protect me or get me out of here. Yeah. So that's really why I focus on the offensive line. But yeah, thoughts.
So for me, I 100% agree. Like anytime you hear Russell Wilson speaking to the media and saying, "Get me help," that's a bad sign because this dude's been class personified since he's been in the league, and it's not even like it was a bad take. It's just like he's fed up, and I'm pretty sure he has Sierra in his ear because she doesn't want a husband that's folded in half.
And I said, you're not going to get Russell Wilson. You're not going to get.
Sorry. I'm actually looking at a report. I apologize. No. And
I was like, we got somebody new.
The highlight today because I was tracking the whole Russell Wilson thing, and I seen in a report like maybe 4 hours ago saying, hey, he still wants to be traded. So to me, what I see coming is probably them trying to draft another QB.
Wow.
Like just because like if Russ wants out, and I don't know how true these reports are every time that comes up, because you read every one, you like maybe he wants to stay, maybe he doesn't.
Right. Yeah.
But if he wants to leave, I see like somebody like Kyle Trask ending up there. I really do. Like just because of how that style of how Russ plays, and maybe they trade up and as far as they can go and try to maybe grab Justin Fields, which I highly doubt.
Well, that'd be a stretch, yeah.
Yeah, it's so much of a stretch. But I just see them going for a quarterback this year. I mean, maybe Zach White from BYU. And there's one guy coming out that's out of North Dakota this year. But
Trey Lance?
Yeah. Like I could see maybe something along the lines of that because if Russ really doesn't want to be there, and like you kind of got to let a player go in a certain way, because you know how that is. So as far as that goes, like if he doesn't want to be there and he's tired of Seattle, maybe it's a relationship with Pete Carroll that he's not liking right now, then you got to let that guy go because he's not going to be productive for the team, And not saying Russ is that guy because Russ has always been the most professional guy that in the league as a whole, but I don't see it. I see Pete Carroll looking at a quarterback right now because I don't think Russ is sticking around. If he's saying he does not want to be there, then it's best to get rid of him. But I just have no idea who they would deal him to.
Right. Well, so
that's the question. Like what are you getting in return for Russell Wilson?
Yeah. Well, and see, so that's the thing. So letting him go would mean a trade. So
crazy.
So they're hurting for draft picks. They only got 3 of them. No team has drafted with less than 5 draft picks since 94, 97.
Wow.
So they need to do something. So I could see, okay, so if they deal him, they're going to want at least, I would say, 2 firsts.
Yeah. At least 2 firsts for a guy that who's going to step on the field like day one and produce.
Yeah.
So there could be the answer there, you know what I mean, with one of these quarterbacks, and they can make it move and make it happen. But my honest thought was he'll stay in Seattle this year and he'll be offloaded next year. Right. But we'll see how that goes.
And what is his contract? 34, 35 million a year?
I think it was like 34.
34, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
So 34 million. Somebody that also had a cap space too.
Yeah, Washington.
Yeah,
not Philly.
Yeah, guys around the table, any thoughts on Seattle?
Yeah, I think I wholeheartely agree. Like, make your most valuable asset happy, right? Like draft a lineman. I also this is not really a free agent thing or that a draft or free agency thing, but I'm just really curious to see what their offense looks like next season, right? Yeah. Like I think Russell Wilson deserves to have a larger voice as far as how things are going to go since it goes through him. But Pete Carroll, right? Didn't he like definitively say that he wanted to get back to like just sticking to the run, right? Being a heavy run first offense. So yeah, I think that they need to. I think they need an offensive lineman. I think they need to do everything in their power to get Russell Wilson happy and keep him happy. But I am eagerly hoping that they do not. I hope they end up drafting like something useless, and I hope he's just super unhappy because Washington, we have the cap space for you, man.
We got a bunch of money.
We got some weapons too.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So
stamp it.
So based on what you said and what we've been talking about, I think there might be a little bit of an identity issue with this offense. I mean, if Pete Carroll's talking about, we're going to run first, and then Russell Wilson's like, well, I want to throw. You need to get me help. Something needs to give, right? Yeah. So I'm also thinking about Pete Carroll's age a little bit. The dude's like 70 years old. Yeah. So it's like if he does offload Russell Wilson sooner rather than later, and this team just looks like straight trash, how much longer are they going to stick with Pete Carroll?
Well, I think if you get rid of Russell Wilson, right, that'll be an organizational decision.
Right.
But at the same time, I still think Pete Carroll's leash would still get shorter.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Because it's one of those things where you have a guy that is literally the face of your franchise, and you're just going to offload him like that. I don't know. Overall, I think that, it's something we definitely need to continue to watch, especially if we just found out that this dude still wants off the squad.
Yeah,
So
man, that's crazy.
that's crazy.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Hot takes.
and the thing is, like, it's bigger than that too. Because like, if you're not going to put a guy in the position to win, that just won a Super Bowl already, like. That's a whole other thing. And you got a guy like DK Metcalf that went for over 1,300 yards this year. Like, I feel like if you don't give him the pieces that he needs for you guys to be productive, they'll be trying to follow Russell out the door.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Good call.
So, yeah.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, that does it for the first week of us getting into the draft stuff. Excuse me, DeAngelo, we thank you for coming on with us. I know we got a little late start and then we kept you on a little longer than I said we would. We can blame Adam just because he's a young guy.
All good.
He's a young guy. But no, man, hey, you're always welcome on the show. We appreciate your insight. Like I said, we always chop it up football wise, walking through the hallways at work. So it was good to get you
Always.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
All right, brother. We'll catch you later.
See ya.
All right, bye. And we will go to break and we'll be right back. Hey, people. It's Eddie and Marcus here from the Average Sports Guys podcast. Are you looking for screen printed shirts or hoodies? Maybe you need embroidered polos, hats, or beanies. If so, check out our guys over at Full Color Prints LLC, located in Chantilly, Virginia.
Yeah, head over to fullcolorprintsdc.com or find them on Instagram at DMV T-Shirt Guys and support your local business.
With over 15 years of experience, there's no wonder they're still in business and they're sure to meet your satisfaction.
The Average Sports Guys have used them and you should too.
All right, so we're back, and so it was cool having DeAngelo on.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Knows his stuff.
Yeah, man, and that was just like the tip of the iceberg with some of the stuff that we talk about at work. So him and Adam have conversations all the time too. So to me, it just made sense.
Yeah.
One more NFL newsworthy type thing. So this was, I think, a little over a week ago at this point now. So, but the NFL has a new media deal, where it's an 11-year deal, and it starts in 2023, and it's $110 billion. So it's a $10 billion deal
Crazy
for
money.
every year, right?
Crazy money.
Yeah, so some of the things that I picked out of there was Thursday night football will transition to Amazon Prime only.
Yeah. Super interesting.
Wow. Right. And well, so before I move on, so Amazon at one point almost kind of seemed like they were going to like step out of the whole like sports, like football type stuff. And I don't know if that was like smoke and mirrors to really be able to get in and then basically hammer out this deal that they did. So clearly that's going to increase Prime subscriptions because there's going to be, I don't want to say who doesn't have Prime at this point. Most of us do, but I understand financially, maybe some people don't, right? So that's the interesting part. When it comes to live sports, I've never been the type that's been super happy about all these paid type things because there's hardworking people that maybe just can't simply afford for these like premium channels or you know what I mean? Yeah. And I get it. At the end of the day, there's some that'll say, well, no need to apologize for that. But anyway, I was, the little guy once and I'm still a little guy, still humble, but facts. I'm just saying, we have Prime, right? You know what I mean? Right. So that'll be interesting. I believe though with that, though it'll only be on Prime, I think if your team is playing like in your market, it will be on local TV.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So that's good at least. ESPN and ABC will now have the rights to 2 Super Bowls during this time frame. So within that 11-year window, ESPN and ABC will air the Super Bowl. So that's good. And they actually have the rights to flex games now, Monday night games.
Yeah, that is clutch.
That is a big
I
deal.
believe
That's
that
huge.
starts in December because you know you get into the latter part of the season, and it's like when the schedulers are putting things together, they're looking at potential matchups of what, like, you know, okay, this historically has playoff implications, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, sometimes as the season unfolds, that game you're looking ahead, you're like, it's going to be
Do I really
dud.
want to watch like the Jets versus the Bengals on
Right.
Monday night?
Yeah. So they'll be able to flex those games. So they'll move that Monday game to, you know, Sunday during the day and then flex somebody else into that spot. But I guess they're going to have to do that early enough because of, think about fans buying tickets, think about just the travel arrangements for the teams, things of that nature. So they're
that was going to be my next question, which is how soon in advance do they have to do that, right?
Yeah, I think it's probably somewhere like a week. I heard different time frames, so I'm sure those that they have until 2023 to figure it out. So
For sure.
So that's, to me, pretty cool because hopefully if they flex the right games, we shouldn't have any more of those boring primetime games towards the end of the season with playoffs on the line, things of that nature. So, and then the other takeaway was just, you know, new money, more money equals a higher cap for teams. I know Marcus is excited and can't
Super
wait for
excited. You see me rub my
2023.
Birdman, rub my hands together. Yeah, we need that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if anybody got any take on that, I think it's a good. I mean, clearly it's just the rich getting richer. Yeah. But you know,
For me, I just, like I said, Birdman hand rub. You know, Eagles need more money over here. But seriously, in the end, I'm all for, you know, players getting paid more. I mean, obviously, you know, the billionaire owners are getting theirs, but also, you know, expanding that to make free agency a little bit more interesting. That's always fun. That's what we like to talk about here on this show. So I'm all for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think with that, you're going to start to see. So I would have to go back and look at the CBA. So this year, I think there's 17 games, right? And then
Yes,
weren't they trying to increase ultimately to like 18 games, things like that?
Something crazy like that. Yeah.
I think with this new deal, they're really going to push for those types of things to happen. So yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just super intrigued by the Amazon stuff. Like, I think
facts.
if you caught a game through Prime, I think last season, they have some interesting things happening there. Like, I know I think it has to do probably with their integration with, like, they do the back end for like all the data with the NFL too. Like AWS does all that.
Yeah.
So I think that they could put together some pretty interesting features. Like, this is the nerd in me talking, but I feel like this could be like, it could be a cool broadcast. So I'm very intrigued by what happens over there.
For sure. I mean, you got dudes like Jeff Bezos, aka Lex Luthor, over there just taking over everything.
I was hoping he bought our team, but you know,
man.
I mean, there's so many that don't like it. You know, they just as a businessman, they're just like, F that dude.
Yeah. Which is absolutely fair to say.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like he'd dump a bunch of money into the team and the stadium.
Right.
I mean, you know, could go to the Amazon Prime Stadium.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
just
Like,
it'd be that one, the Washington Amazon Primes.
the Washington Primes. Hey, I'm
Optimus
all
on the
for
side
it.
of your helmet.
No, it's just that little arrow,
Yeah,
that little
just-
curved arrow. Oh man, that would be funny.
That'd
Could
be
you imagine
great.
seeing that in burgundy and gold?
Oh, man.
All right, so that's a good segue or transition, if you will, into our team news. So as far as Washington is concerned, there's a bunch of junk surfacing with Daniel Snyder.
Washington is concerned. We are very concerned.
Yeah, so basically what it is, for those who haven't heard, Snyder, the NFL actually just approved the purchase. Was it $850 million?
Yes,
I guess,
sir.
to buy out
It's another 40%.
another 40% or 41% or whatever. So
Yep.
he'd be
80%.
basically
like the sole owner.
Yeah,
right?
basically he's just buying out the minority owners. So
Yep.
I don't know. Twitter was interesting the other day. So, you know, people are like, Dan Snyder, like, once he buys the team, he's a sole owner, because the whole thing with the name change was because of the minority owners
Speaking up.
and the money and this and that. So that's why he changed the name. So everybody's like, yep, well, we'll be the Redskins in a couple of weeks. That ain't going to happen.
No.
But I do think it's interesting that with all the scandal and litigation and stuff that he's been tied up in over the last at least year, right? That the NFL would approve that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
It almost seems like they're rewarding him in a sense with that, because now if you're the sole owner of the team, and I don't know.
And for me, it's like going back to that whole point of 42% of the fan base are women. Like, what message are you sending by giving this man another 40% of the Washington football team? Like, you really got to think about that. It also, I mean, for me, I'm always a fan of, letting those allegations play out and thinking about, the people who he has allegedly affected, and then making your decision based on the findings and the investigations and going on from there.
But real quick, is that not like this move? Is that not the biggest FU to those women?
It is.
Has to be.
100%.
Who filed that suit, and then I get it, they settled and all that type of stuff.
Still,
but
dude,
that's just like
disgusting.
the biggest middle finger right in your face.
I mean, the NFL is like, as far as leagues go, they're like the king of sending conflicted messages, right? Like they say one thing and do the other. You never really know. To me, this just reads of the owners protecting one of their own, right?
100%.
Like, I feel like those guys are sitting there seeing Snyder go through all this, and they're probably thinking, man, I got some skeletons in my closet too. And if he can kind of take the bullet and hold it down for the rest of us, right? Like, let's just like we as a unit, let's just all try to get through this together. I am just sad though, because I really thought that, like, if anyone could pry the team away from him, it would be Bezos.
Right.
And I thought all the pieces were kind of moving into place for something like that to happen.
Yeah.
And now it does not seem that way.
No. It's definitely not going to happen. Dan Snyder's the owner. He's always going to be the owner at the end of the day, right? So I would say this. I used to get real upset with Snyder from a football sense. It seems since, Coach Rivera came into town, he stayed completely out of it there, especially with the GM moves that they made. I think there's enough buffer between on the field football operations and Jason Wright and then Dan Snyder, you know what I mean? So I think there's enough of a buffer there that, especially if Snyder sees what we all see, the complete culture change, they're building in the right direction. And if you can start putting wins on the field, I think he will stay further and further away. So long as he does that, I'm cool. It's just the meddling. Clearly, I'm not cool with whatever those allegations were. Clearly, we weren't in anybody's, lawyers' offices reading depositions, that whole thing and all that stuff. All we read and heard was what was in the Washington Post and other insiders, things of that nature. None of it looks good. So from that standpoint, I'm not cool with him being the owner, but at the end of the day, there's nothing we can do about it. You can either choose to support the team or not. That's it. Kind of sucks, but either way, in player news, in a sense, Adam Humphries visited the Washington football team today. He's a former teammate of who? Ryan Fitzpatrick in Tampa, and I believe that was he had his best statistical season. But then was released that following year. I think he was more of a cap casualty. Okay. And then, so he was with Tennessee?
I believe so.
He just hasn't gotten many targets there. Right. But I feel like he's a legitimate slot. Now, hear me out, right? They signed him. Guess who is getting cut? That's right, Steve Sims Jr.
Yep.
There would be no reason for this kid to be on the team.
Right.
He seems like a nice dude. I think he has talent. Clearly, he's in the NFL. I hate to see people lose their jobs, but if I'm him, I'm asking for my release if they sign Humphries.
Stop lying. You want that man gone.
If he wasn't on the team,
you're not losing sleep.
Safe to report, no sleep will be lost. Right? No sleep will be lost. Marcus is absolutely right. I will clearly wish him well. I remember when he first
don't
came.
let the door hit you on the way.
Right. Yeah, I'll help him pack. I don't know. I think Humphries would be an upgrade in that regard.
Can he return punts?
And that was the question that I heard that was asked, and I don't know. Something tells me he can.
I don't know that I've seen it.
No,
I can't remember.
Yeah,
I can't say I've watched much of him.
I can't either. Well, I remember being at the game in Tampa Bay when the Redskins played Tampa, and he was there. And I don't want to say he tore us apart, but I mean, he was solid. Yeah. So I just can't remember if he was fielding punts. I don't know.
Chemistry with a quarterback is important, right? And if he's got that already, and not only chemistry, but like the trust of Ryan Fitzpatrick. I
Right.
think that's absolutely something worth investigating, especially when like we are not deep at receiver in any
Right.
way, right?
Yeah.
We have a lot of guys on the roster, but we are not deep talent wise.
Right. Well, and then another aspect. Well, first of all, it ain't going to cost much, right?
Yeah.
Secondly, if you have Humphreys in there, he's played with Fitzpatrick. He can help the wide receiver room say, hey, on these type of plays, this is what Fitz is thinking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So boom, boom, boom. So I think, clearly the QB is going to talk to the wide receivers and things like that. But, there's the QB room, there's the wide receiver room. So I think that can only help in that regard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I wouldn't be mad at it. Like I said, I think Steve Sims Jr. would be on the chopping block real quick. So like I said, if they signed him, I would call my agent and say, let's try to get my release so you have the time to latch on to another team, because I mean the draft is right around the corner,
Right.
and if maybe somebody could use you. So I mean I don't know, but I mean we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean hell, he could be signed right now. I don't know. We've been recording, so I don't really look for the updates, but that's all I got in Washington. Oh no, real quick, the name crap surfaced again. You want to know why? Because Jason Wright, I guess I think he put out another statement, or somebody did, from the team, basically saying they may just roll with Washington football team as a permanent name. First of all, that will piss me off.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, Adam, well, you know what? Well, to me, at the end of the day, like, you call them whatever you want. Like, that's a team that I root for. I'm not going to stop rooting for them, clearly. But, I mean, if I had my way, it would not be Washington football team. I think I've said it on this show, or when Adam and I used to do a podcast. And it's like when you hear Jalen Hurts is a Eagle.
Eagle, yeah.
Right? Chase Young is a football team.
Teammate.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just like Chase Young is a Washington.
Right.
Chase Young is a Washington football team. Like, it just sounds weird.
Right.
No,
You know what I mean?
I understand. I think it's because I'm a soccer fan.
Soccer fan,
and
I get it.
All these teams, they
like Washington FC.
Right.
That's huge. Everybody wants it. I don't.
I get it, but I guess there's the part of me that's also like, yeah, we had this one name when I became a fan, right?
Right.
We are not that team anymore.
Right.
And if we choose not to have a specific mascot like that again, because we that was our original team, that's who we were, and that we're leaving that in the past, and we go this other route, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Cool story, bro. No. I just, if they're gonna stick with this name, just come out and say it. Say, look, F all the other stuff. We're about to be Washington football team. It is what it is.
Right.
Okay, now I'll spend thousands of dollars on, hoodies, beanies, socks, keychains, whatever. But that's really why I've been holding off, is because, like, I think I have just a shirt, and then I have the beanie that Marcus got me.
Yep.
But, like, I wanted, like, a name.
Yeah.
And then I want, like, a logo. They're going to keep the colors, clearly, burgundy and gold. That's cool. That's awesome. But all that other stuff, just give me a name, give me a logo. We're all going to hate it, right? Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter. Oh, Washington Warriors. Oh, it sucks. A year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years. Look how quickly people accidentally got comfortable with Washington football team.
Yeah.
Right.
So they'll figure it out when you call them something else,
Yeah, that's
Washington Chipmunks. Like, whatever it's going to be, it's just going to be. But, yeah, I don't know. All right, I'm off the name stuff. I don't even care anymore. All right, Marcus, what you got with the Eagles, man?
So it looks like the Eagles pulled money from Shoebox Financial in order to sign a safety by the name of Anthony Harris. Let's go. We got a safety. Honestly, I was a little nervous letting go of Jalen Mills just because of how much better he was as a safety than he was at corner. Like, everybody knows this dude bites on double moves, the whole nine. But one thing that we could always say about him is that he was not afraid of contact. He's he's lowering the shoulder, he's lowering in the boom. He doesn't care who's coming up to make contact. He's gonna do his best to try to stop the guy. So the fact that we pulled in Anthony Harris really excites me, especially for our defense, who is the void of linebackers. But at the end of the day, we did replace, and in my opinion, we upgraded at safety. 2 years ago, this dude was the number 2 ranked safety in the league. He's coming off of a down year. So for the past 2 seasons, you know, he had 2020 104 combined tackles, 58 solo, 2 tackles for loss. The year before, he had 6 INTs, dude. 6 interceptions, 1 fumble recovery. Dude's a problem. And I think, you know, sometimes it takes a change of scenery, you know.
Like when Darby came to Washington. See what I did there?
I see what he did there.
Now he's gone. He's in Denver.
For sure. So we signed him to a 1-year, $5 million deal.
Where'd you sign him from?
Minnesota.
Okay.
So dude was doing damage. So at the end of the day, I am super excited. And on top of this fun little nugget, dude is reunited with Rodney McLeod, dude. They played together at UVA 10 years ago. So when McLeod was leaving, he was coming in. So he looks at McLeod as like a mentor type thing.
Man, you know who else plays together? And then they played together in college. McLaurin and
yeah.
Right.
Boy, I'm on a roll today.
Eagle said, "Hold my beer. We're gonna run that too."
Just the lesser version.
I feel you. So, like overall, I think our secondary will be fine. Whether they, you know, retain guys like Cravon LeBlanc, Avonte Maddox, opposite of Darius Slay, we'll see. We'll see what we do in the draft. But then again, our secondary really wasn't a super huge issue last season. It was more the linebacker.
That's what I was about to say.
Like, because, I mean, Alex Singleton, he played well. Like, he was great at run stuffing, but do not ask this man to cover anything.
Right. Yeah.
So we need to find somebody in the draft. I mean, but like we talked about earlier, we do run a lot of nickel. So, I mean, that'll take pressure off the linebackers a little bit, but at the same time, we were terrible at stopping the run at certain spots in the season. I mean, guys were getting loose. And I think we devalued the linebacker position at the wrong time when everybody was going run heavy last season. Mm-hmm. So, again, we got to find another linebacker. But moving forward with Eagles news, we signed a Delaware University alumni and Joe Flacco.
Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Super Bowl winning
Put
quarterback.
Some respect on it. Dude had a McDonald's commercial.
A whole McDonald's commercial. University of Delaware. Didn't mean to disrespect you guys. 1 year, $4 million deal. $4 million deal. 3.5 guaranteed. It's just another insurance move. Last season he played 5-ish games, 55, 60%, completion percentage.
Where was he last year? The Jets?
The Jets. He was with the Jets. 6 TDs, 3 INTs. I like keeping a vet in the room, especially when you have a younger quarterback like Jalen Hurts, who, in my opinion, who's going to be fine next season. Pending what we do with pick number 6.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase. So
you just don't want him learning from Sudfeld. You keep
we all know what happened when Suds came in the game.
You keep Suds in the equipment room.
I lie to you not. Like, I'm pretty sure as soon as Suds got into the game last season, when they pulled out Jalen Hurts, I'm pretty sure like the entire stadium, like as far as the fan base, if the people were even there, just got up and left. Yeah. People turned the channel. They knew the game was over.
He when coach was like, Suds, you're going in. He was like Kevin Hart.
What?
No,
I'm not ready.
I wasn't ready.
Right. So, and he knew going into that. He was like, all right,
I'm about to get 8 up.
Yeah, like you guys got it was. At the end of the day, I'll say this: I'm happy we're picking number 6. I'm just hoping Howie doesn't screw it up.
Yeah. Just get it right, man.
Just get it right. I'll even like Jamar Chase is my number 1. After that, I'll take a Smith, maybe a Parsons. We have to we got to give Jalen Hurts like a top tier weapon. Yeah. Give this guy a receiver.
Just don't overthink it, guys.
Like don't overthink it. Like honestly, we haven't had a legit number 1 receiver. I mean, granted, Alshon Jeffrey, when he was healthy, he was a problem. Yeah. But like a guy that we brought into our organization who was not a crap starter, who actually worked hard for like 5, 6, 7 years, putting up over 1,000 yards. That was what's his face? That was his name just escaped me. I played for the Ravens not too long ago before he retired. God, Jeremy Maclin, there it is.
Yeah.
When that man was a problem, and it was him and Shady that were just dominating the offense.
When Maclin left Philly, he went to Kansas City, didn't he?
He went to Kansas City, and then he ended up on the Ravens before he retired. Yeah. So we haven't had like a legit guy like that in our organization since Jeremy Maclin. So, I mean, hopefully we can get back
This
to
is
that.
the year, man.
This is the year.
Like you're pick 6 and there's tons of receivers.
Because at the end of the day, I keep saying it, we need a guy to stretch the field to allow Miles Sanders to be able to get off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we know our weaknesses on defense. And in my opinion, right now, based on the different run games throughout our division, we have to keep our offense on the field to keep our defense fresh and to keep the opposite team's run game off the field.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously our front four, they're getting older. They're still studs in my opinion. I mean, Fletcher Cox is there, but now he's starting to get injured 2-3 games out the season.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to start looking maybe like next year in the draft for a replacement for him. Brandon Graham's not getting any younger. We just paid Derek Barnett his $10 million guaranteed. We have younger guys like Josh Sweat that are doing pretty well, but overall, let's kick this offense up a notch, man. I mean, Zach Ertz is going to be here for at least one more season. Mm-hmm. Let's see what we can do. I mean, the rest of the league is counting us out, and that's the exact place we like to be.
Yeah.
Going into the season,
Goddard is good too.
Goddard is he's
good. Like I think Goddard and Ertz, but like both of them healthy for once with a stud receiver. Like, and I think that could be a fun offense.
I still think Ertz goes elsewhere. Mm-hmm. And I mean, time's ticking down because the draft is not too far away. But I ultimately think they part ways because he didn't resign, did he?
No. So he's still like, and he doesn't want to leave. But
he's still under contract.
He's still under contract, but he's the working.
He can look for a trade.
And then I just want our offensive line to be healthy for once. I mean, think of the guys that are on our offensive line. You have Jason Kelsey, who re-signed and restructured. What's his face? You still have Lane Johnson. I even like Jordan Mailata start on the left side. Mm-hmm. Even guys like Brandon Brooks, like this dude is a perennial Pro Bowler when he's not injured.
It's crazy. Like
our offensive line isn't bad.
A couple years ago, they were like top 2, top 3, right? Like
top
easy.
3.
Yeah.
And then we just got injury ridden.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm excited this season to not have quarterback drama. And to see what Jalen Hurts can do, within this offense when he gets a legitimate offseason. And it's good that, we did have turnover, right? But last year was his first season. So it's not a big deal switching the scheme.
Right. Yeah. It's not like he's 2-3 years into it.
Right. So I think we'll be fine. I just hope that Sirianni, gleaned whatever he could off of Frank Reich to design something that, the Philly fan base can be proud of. So that's what I got coming out of Philly.
Yeah. And we'll get into it when we do the NFC East, like draft special stuff. But I think you guys do go offense. It seems like an arms race in the NFC East.
Oh, for sure.
Everybody's trying to stockpile weapons. So that'll be interesting. But all right. Well, that was episode 63. This is Eddie, Adam, and Marcus. Again, it's the Average Sports Guys podcast. Be sure to head over to our website, averagesportsguys.com. Yep. All of our stuff is there.
Merch.
Our social is linked there. YouTube stuff, all of it's there. Check us out. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, again, YouTube. Like, share, subscribe. Tell your mama and them.
Grandmama, everybody.
All right, we're out of here.